Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herald here on Badlands Media. I'm your host, Jon Herold, and it's a Monday. That's all I'll say. Yesterday, we had a fantastic debut of Brad's documentary, Codex 9/11. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you for everybody who has shown so much support to Brad. He is so deserving of it. And reminder, you can do it directly. I mean, the rants and everything that you guys left him yesterday was phenomenal. But the best way to support him, where he gets a higher percentage of the cut, is through badlandsmedia.tv/codex911. It's like leaving a Badlands boost just for Brad, just for that documentary. The only part of that donation he doesn't get is whatever the processing fee is. So he gets 100% of whatever's left after the processing fee that we have to pay. And yeah, the views right now, we're up to like 350 some thousand on Rumble. And it's on YouTube as well. I think it's probably got over 1,000 on YouTube. So it's been great to see. So deserving. He's worked so hard on that thing. Very happy for him and excited to see where it goes, because we were hearing that it's going to be shared around to some big names. So we're hoping the hype on it continues to grow. I know Mondays are a little weird. We have some live coverage going on Badlands right now. And also, Y-Chromes is live, so probably won't have the usual audience on the show, and that's expected on Mondays, especially with live coverage stuff. But we're going to talk about what's going on. The Brad's Codex 9/11 is not the Rumble leaderboard. So the way Rumble does their leaderboard is weird. First of all, like, it's just a weird setup. Oh my gosh, YouTube has almost 3,000 views. That's crazy. Rumble's leaderboard, like, because Brad's show was scheduled almost a week in advance, it's not going to show up on the leaderboard. Like, they only show shows that are, it's weird. Like, you can schedule a show on a Friday at a certain time, and depending when you end the show, it could show up on both Saturday and Sunday's leaderboard. And plus, like, we see it, there's so many weird ratios with the views to likes almost across the board. The views to like ratio is anywhere from 5 to 10%, and you see people with like 30% ratios. You even see some videos out there with more likes than views, which is impossible. People manipulate the leaderboard count by buying likes, it appears, I would guess. But yeah, that documentary is just fantastic. Also, real quick, I want to give a nice little birthday shout out to my girlfriend Cece. She's in the chat typically. Maybe she's in here now. I'd assume she's watching. She better be watching. I haven't seen her say anything yet, but when she pops in to say hello, make sure you guys wish her a happy birthday. What else was I going to say? I don't remember. But yeah, we'll go through the sponsors, and then I'll go through some of the stuff today. We're going to talk about what Trump's been doing this morning, the executive orders that he, there she is, CC_. Happy birthday. CEE. We're going to go through the executive orders and stuff Trump has been doing this morning. And then there's a few things from over the weekend, some Trump's Truth Social posts I want to go through. I don't know if we'll get to a full hour. We probably will. We'll see what happens. But let's get a quick word from one of our sponsors. I'm going to get to another sponsor here in a little bit. That sponsor is River. Did you know that Bitcoin is now a top 5 global asset? Now is the time to buy, and River is here to help. At River, you get 0 fee recurring buys, 3.8% Bitcoin interest on cash, US-based support, business accounts, and so much more. And don't forget that Bitcoin interest on cash, which can accelerate your business growth too. Businesses can earn 3.8% interest on cash paid in Bitcoin. That's more money to fuel your next big move. Get started at badlandsmedia.tv/river. Move your cash to River today and start earning a real interest rate paid in Bitcoin. The future is now. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. And also, guys, don't forget, if you're going to buy Bitcoin, you want to get it over to a cold storage wallet, and Trezor is the best way to do that. And we are a Trezor affiliate as well. badlandsmedia.tv/Trezor, Trezor. Those two things kind of go hand in hand. Bitcoin is down a little bit, by the way. I think I saw it's down to like 100 110 or 112 or something. So that's a buying opportunity, because anytime this thing comes down below like 120 now, you know it's going to eventually go back up. And so even throwing 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks into a river account weekly or monthly even, it's going to pay off in the long run. I know the price of Bitcoin being over $100,000 a coin it seems high, but based on where this thing is going, where people are projecting this thing to go, you're going to be kicking yourself having not bought it these past few years when we've been telling you to do so. Badlandsmedia.tv/river. We do have another sponsor. I'm going to get to them in a little bit. One more note I want to point out is the weekend of September. What is it? September 5th. Yeah. So not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. I'm going to be in Minneapolis for that golf tournament from nexttocan.org, which if you haven't signed up for that, there may be teams available, but if you can't make it, you can support it. But I'm going to be at that golf tournament. That's on Saturday. On Sunday, we're going to be doing a Badlanders meetup at Quinny's Pub, and that is in the Minneapolis area. It's going to be Sunday at noon, and I'm going to have like a flyer and everything for it, so you guys can. It'll be on my social media, so you guys can officially sign up for it then too. But if you want to RSVP to the meetup, it's going to start at noon on Sunday the 7th. The email you can RSVP to is Quinny. That's QUINNYS, Quinny's Sports Pub. So there's 2 S's in there. Quinny's Sports Pub at gmail.com. QUINNYS. I'd love to see you guys there. We had a pretty good turnout last time we were in Minnesota. Was that last summer? So make sure you guys join us if you can. But all right, let's kick this off here. No update on the Doge website. Not surprising. Last update was August 15th, about 10 days ago. Whole bunch of new executive actions on the presidential website, though, and I'm going to go through a few of these. So the first one is prosecuting burning of the American flag. This is an interesting one. I'm going to read through some of what the executive order here says. And there's a potential First Amendment issue with this, but part of this executive order kind of addresses that. Let's listen to what Trump has to say on this. Actually, there's a fairly long video. I probably won't play the whole thing.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning. Yeah,
so there you go. Burning the flag incites riots like we've never seen before. But I like what they say in the actual executive order. A great American flag is the most sacred and cherished symbol of the United States of America and of American freedom, identity, and strength. Over nearly 2.5 centuries, many thousands of American patriots have fought, bled, and died to keep the stars and stripes waving proudly. The American flag is a special symbol in our national life that should unite and represent all Americans of every background and walk of life. Desecrating it is uniquely offensive and provocative. It is a statement of contempt, hostility, and violence against our nation, the clearest possible expression of opposition to the political union that preserves our rights, liberty, and security. Burning this representation of America may incite violence and a riot. American flag burning is also used by groups of foreign nationals as a calculated act to intimidate and threaten violence against Americans because of their nationality and place of birth. I was just thinking of burning bright and not like that. Just like, okay, you can't burn a flag. It's illegal. It incites violence. What does burning bright do? What does that incite? Depression, maybe? We should discuss that at some point. Notwithstanding the Supreme Court's rulings on First Amendment protections, speaking of burning bright, after Codex 9/11 last night, he had Brad on his show, and it's probably the most I've watched of an episode of The Narrative, besides the ones that I've been on. They did a really good job. It was a really good discussion. It was funny. It was entertaining. It was really long. No surprise there, but I'd encourage you guys to watch that as well. If you liked the documentary itself, getting Brad and his input, BB was there too, but if you ignore that part of it, Brad's input following the documentary was great. So check it out. Anyway, notwithstanding the Supreme Court's rulings on First Amendment protections, the court has never held that American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action or that is an action amounting to fighting words is constitutionally protected. My administration will act to restore respect and sanctity to the American flag and prosecute those who incite violence or otherwise violate our laws while desecrating the symbol of our country. And then this is the part that I thought was interesting. They're going to prioritize enforcement to the fullest extent possible of our nation's criminal and civil laws against American flag desecration. But here, to the maximum extent permitted by the Constitution, the Attorney General shall vigorously prosecute those who violate our laws in ways that involve desecrating the American flag and may pursue litigation to clarify the scope of the First Amendment exceptions in this area. A lot of what Trump has done in his first or his second term here is kind of feel out the constitutional limits of a lot of different things. And he's doing it again here with like the First Amendment. And I think that's interesting because, it starts with exploring, okay, can somebody burn the flag? Is that allowed? Is that a First Amendment right of somebody to do? And depending on how the courts respond to that, okay, well, if somebody can burn the flag and that's a First Amendment exception, how come we can't post something on YouTube without getting censored, or on Instagram or TikTok? Like, this could actually be the start. I've been complaining about the First Amendment stuff and how they said they're going to look to, make social media free and fair, free speech, blah, blah, blah. And we haven't seen any actual movement on it. I've been waiting for something to actually address something along the lines of the First Amendment. And the first one we're getting, it appears, has to do with the burning of the American flag. That's notable, guys. I think that's important. Thank God for Truth says 1.5x or 2x is a must for the narrative. Yeah, unless you have literally nothing to do and hate yourself. Just kidding, Brittany, right? Just kidding. But yeah, I have to go through it pretty quickly myself. And Sundays are one of my off days, so I typically just try to not do a whole bunch of work stuff on Sundays. But then yesterday I did the 5-hour stream in the morning, and then Brad's documentary, watched that whole thing 2.5 hours, and then I watched a little bit of Burning Bright stuff. So a lot of work done on a Sunday for me. But anyway, another thing he's doing, actually, let's go back to this. Prosecuting burning the flag, additional measures to address the crime emergency in the District of Columbia. And he also did these two things having to do with cashless bail. So let's start with the cashless bail one. And there's a couple interesting things through here. Maintaining order and public safety requires incarcerating individuals whose pending criminal charges or criminal history demonstrate a clear ongoing risk to society. When these individuals are released without bail under city or state policies, they are permitted, even encouraged, to further endanger law-abiding, hardworking Americans because they know our laws will not be enforced. Our great law enforcement officers risk their lives to arrest potentially violent criminals, only to be forced to arrest the same individuals, sometimes for the same crimes, while they await trial on the previous charges. This is a waste of public resources and a threat to public safety. And this is what it requires them to do. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall submit to the President, through the Assistant to the President for the Homeland Security, a list of states and local jurisdictions that have substantially eliminated cash bail as a potential condition of pretrial release from custody for crimes that pose a clear threat to public safety and order, including anything violent, sexual, indecent acts, burglary, looting, or vandalism. And then the head of each executive department and agency shall identify federal funds, including grants and contracts, currently provided to cashless bail jurisdictions identified pursuant to this first part section, and figure out which ones may be suspended or terminated. So this is how they're trying to implement it across the country. Like, okay, guys, you're a district or a state or whatever, any jurisdiction, you have a cash bail policy. What federal funds are you getting that we can withhold until you fall in line. It's really interesting. Trump is doing this in the United States of America, like he's withholding federal funds from jurisdictions for all sorts of things. He's doing it with universities, Harvard. He's doing it with states like California. He's doing it now with this. Like, he's finding many reasons to withhold federal funds that have just been flowing into these jurisdictions. It's the same thing he's doing with foreign countries. Like, he's wielding tariffs and trade and money, the economic stuff against foreign countries to get them to fall in line. He's ending wars with it. He's using it all over. And it just makes me think of what General Quas said while we were in Deadwood at GART. He talked about this a little bit, about Trump, wielding his economic weapons to secure peace and stuff. He's doing it not only on the world stage, but he's doing it domestically too. I think that's pretty interesting. And then one more thing on this, with the cashless bail. The District of Columbia's government pretrial release policies, which include prohibiting cash bail, contribute to the disgraceful conditions referenced in the previous executive order, as law enforcement must arrest the same individuals multiple times and dangerous criminals are sometimes rapidly released. It is therefore the policy of my administration that all necessary and lawful measures be taken to end cashless bail policies and ensure the pretrial detention of any criminal suspect who threatens public safety, prevent the release of dangerous suspects based on cashless bail policies. Relevant federal law enforcement agencies shall work to ensure that arrestees in the District of Columbia are held in federal custody and shall pursue federal charges and pretrial detention for such arrestees whenever possible to ensure that criminal defendants who pose a threat to public safety are not released from custody prior to trial. So his answer to doing it in D.C. specifically, which he's basically federalized the police force in D.C., all the different agencies that are taking part in cleaning up that district. They haven't had a murder in like over a week. I mean, things are just looking a whole lot better there. He's looking to federalize this stuff too, so that any of the state or local jurisdictions in DC, they can't just like get these people in and then get them out right away on the cashless bail. We're looking to federally prosecute and federally hold these people on federal crimes to avoid the cash bail stuff. I think it's brilliant. Bravis says no, 11 days. I'm assuming the no murders. Yeah, and this is what he says. Did I already play this? No, I haven't played this. This is what he says on the cashless bail.
One of the executive orders has to do with cashless bail. That was when the big crime in this country started. And I can tell you who did it, when, but I don't want to do that because others followed pretty quickly. But that was when it happened. Somebody kills somebody, they go in, don't worry about it, no cash, come back in a couple of months, we'll give you a trial. You never see the person again. And I mean, they kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in DC, and that we have the right to do through federalization. So
there you go. And then the last one, and this one I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on, I think, probably. Additional measures to address the crime emergency in the District of Columbia. So 2 weeks ago, this is in the order, I declared a crime emergency in the District of Columbia to address the rampant violence and disorder that have undermined the proper and safe functioning of the federal government. That executive order is Executive Order 14333, which is this one here, declaring a crime emergency in the District of Columbia, August 11th. I'm now ordering further actions to address the conditions described in that executive order. The Director of the National Park Service shall hire additional members of the United States Park Police in the District of Columbia to support the policy goals described in Executive Order 14333, which I just showed you. The United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, which is Janine Pirro, shall hire additional prosecutors to focus on prosecuting violent and property crimes. And so we saw last week, there's that story of the District of Columbia is basically taking in JAG lawyers from the military to help, because she said there's a staffing problem. They're like 90 people short or something, she says. And so this executive order is now just like forcing her to hire more people. And so I wonder if that, like, if the JAG lawyers are going to be there longer, or how much longer they're going to be there, if it's more of a permanent thing, I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, when that came in, a lot of people were like hyping that up as some sort of Q code or plan code or something, and maybe it is. I don't know. But the fact that they're looking here in this executive order to hire more, that makes me think they're not wanting the JAG lawyers to be there on a permanent basis. But we shall see. The DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force shall establish an online portal for Americans with law enforcement or other relevant backgrounds and experience to apply to join federal law enforcement entities to support the policy goals described in Executive Order 14333. So they're going to make a website where people can apply to work there. That's cool. Each law enforcement agency that is a member of the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force shall immediately create and begin training, manning, hiring, and equipping a specialized unit that is dedicated to ensuring public safety and order in the nation's capital, that can be deployed whenever the circumstances necessitate, and that could be deployed subject to applicable law in other cities where public safety and order has been lost. So that's like a specialized unit just for the nation's capital, DC, just to handle this stuff. Okay. And that was all the people as part of the DC Safe and Beautiful Task Force. Now, the Secretary of Defense shall immediately create and begin training, manning, hiring, and equipping a specialized unit within the District of Columbia National Guard, subject to activation under Title 32 of United States Code, which is just, it's the National Guard. It's part of the United States Code, and this allows them to operate domestically without violating posse comitatus. So it's a good mention in there. That is dedicated to ensuring public safety and order in the nation's capital. As appropriate, the Attorney General, the Secretary of the Interior, and the Secretary of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Secretary of Defense, shall deputize the members of this unit to enforce federal law. So I think this is more interesting to me than like anything we've read above so far. Like getting, again, the National Guard, more of a military role in domestic law enforcement, and they're going to deputize them. And again, this is just for District of Columbia. Okay. But goes on. Secretary of Defense shall immediately begin ensuring that each state's Army Guard, Army National Guard, and Air National Guard are resourced, trained, organized, and available to assist federal, state, and local law enforcement in quelling civil disturbances and ensuring the public safety and order whenever the circumstances necessitate, as appropriate under law. And also, the Secretary of Defense shall designate an appropriate number of each state's trained National Guard members to be reasonably available for rapid mobilization for such purposes. Secretary of Defense shall ensure the availability of a standing National Guard Quick Reaction Force, QRF, that shall be resource trained and available for rapid nationwide deployment. They are preparing for, like, you know, the National Guard has kind of always been there to be called in when needed by a governor or something. You know, the George Floyd riots, a lot of the governors didn't do it. Trump ended up having to do it. Trump is showing he's not afraid to wield this stick when needed. And now they want the DC to have its own like dedicated domestic disturbance force. We can call them that maybe. And then he wants the National Guard all over the place to be trained and ready to go to assist quelling civil disturbances. That's interesting. I mean, they're kind of already tasked for that in a lot of ways, but maybe not with specific training. Maybe that's the interesting part of this. Or maybe the interesting part of this is they're just like, they're telling everybody through this executive order that this is what they're doing. You know, I'm not sure. It kind of depends on where things go with this. I'm not sure what part of this is the most notable part. There's a few interesting things here. And it just makes me think of this story that we got. It's on the Badlands Media website today. I think it's been out from over the weekend. The Trump administration to deploy National Guard to 19 states for immigration enforcement support. That's the banner they're flying under, whether you want to believe that or not. The Pentagon confirmed that up to 1,700 National Guard troops will mobilize in 19 states over the coming weeks to assist the Department of Homeland Security in President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration and crime. White House officials emphasized that planning for these activations began before Trump's recent comments about expanding Washington, D.C.'s enforcement model nationwide. Planning documents list deployments in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wyoming, with Texas expected to host the largest Guard presence. The orders extend through mid-November. Defense officials said the Guard will bolster ICE operations with case management, transportation, logistics, and clerical work, including collecting personal data, fingerprints, DNA samples, and photographs of migrants in custody. Troops will serve under Title 32 authority, which exempts them from posse comitatus restrictions on military involvement in civilian law enforcement. Trump has signaled plans to expand operations beyond Washington, D.C., telling agents Thursday, "We're going to make it safe, and we're going to then go on to other places." He later said Chicago and New York would likely follow. State officials emphasized that the soldiers would not conduct arrests but remain under governor control while reporting operationally to ICE. White House officials said the Guard activations are not the same as president's actions to stop crime in D.C., stressing that the missions are limited to DHS logistical and clerical support. So this is interesting because like over the last month or so, we've had DHS and ICE make this huge push for hiring people. Like there was like a $10,000 bonus. Like if you know somebody, you know, have them sign up for ICE, help deport illegal immigrants in this country. And ever since, you know, Tom Holman started the deportation process, like it started pretty slow. And I think on the first couple, you know, episodes of this show that I was doing, I was talking about that. I was like, this doesn't seem to be going quick enough. Like we're not deporting a large enough number of people to get all the illegals in this country. We have to be getting over 5,000, 6,000 something a day or more to get them out by the time Trump leaves office. And the fact that they're trying to hire more people, they're trying to ramp up the production of their deportation process. And so because maybe they haven't hired enough people, not enough people signed up for the job, or they don't have them ready yet, they're like, okay, well, let's just get the National Guard to help with the clerical aspects of this. And maybe that's all they're going to do is just literally the logistical and clerical stuff. That's what they're claiming. But they're going all over the country to help do this. And then the second part of this is they're stating that this is separate from what Trump is doing with this executive order in here, where he wants all of these National Guard people around the country to be ready to quell civil disturbances, like a quick reaction force and everything, all of them. I mean, he's using the military right now, the National Guard, in some pretty interesting ways to help implement his policy agenda. And it seems to prepare for civil disturbances. So I'm not trying to hype that up. I'm not trying to say anything's going to happen. I just think it's interesting. What do you guys think? And I guess I missed this. They said Wyoming would also have a National Guard deployed here to deal with illegals. Yeah, that's what that story I just read was about. The clerical work. New Case then says, I know Colorado needs the Guard here there to help because the state is even more swamped with illegals than we are. They're swamped everywhere. Everywhere. Show of strength will shut them down. Heck yeah. KPZZ87, working, lurking, and listening to. Thank you for hopping in the chat. Tattoo Teacher, yeah, the executive order Trump did, this applies to all the states, all 50 states. The story here about them helping with deportations is just the 19 so far. Wouldn't be surprised if that expands at some point. But speaking of the 50 state one here, what Trump did in DC, it's a 30-day thing. Okay. And I said this when he first did it. Like he's federalizing the police force and whatnot in DC. And the way he did it was through the Home Rule Act, and that comes with a 30-day shelf life. Well, Rep. Andy Biggs is set to introduce DC reform bills to extend Trump's control of police and eliminate cashless bail. Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona will introduce two pieces of legislation to amend the DC Home Rule Act to give the president a longer period of time to control local police and to reverse the district's cashless bail policy. Earlier this month, President Trump assumed direct control of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, citing persistently high violent crime in the nation's capital and failure by the city and local law enforcement to address it. Despite local officials and Democratic officials touting official crime statistics that show an estimated 30% decline in violent crime, D.C. is still statistically one of the most dangerous places among U.S. cities. I actually said that when we went to D.C., when was that? It was a couple of months ago, month and a half ago? I don't even remember. But I was like, afraid kind of low key to go because I thought I was going to get like stabbed or shot or something. But we went and it was awesome. Anyway, The administration has surged federal resources. Wait, I missed a part. There's also a growing body of evidence introduced by a whistleblower who alleged the crime statistics were manipulated, which, if proven, would mean that they have a more widespread crime problem than we initially thought. The administration has surged federal resources to the city, including using agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the DEA, Park Police, Secret Service, National Guard, support DC police in patrols, investigations, and arrest. However, the president's impact is limited by both the Home Rule Act of 1973, which granted DC self-governance, and the district's local criminal codes, which includes policies like cashless bail that critics say make prosecuting crimes harder, which is why they're looking to prosecute them federally. Rep. Biggs aims to address both of these issues through new legislation, which will ensure the president has the necessary time and authority to quell the chaos that has reigned in woke DC, he said. So pretty cool move by him. I don't know if I'm going to read through all of this. Yeah, I don't think I need to. I'm going to skip that. Okay, we do have more stories to go through, but before we do, I want to get a quick word from another one of our sponsors of today's show. And that sponsor is us here at Badlands Media with our lotion brand, Soft Disclosure. It's amazing. Get ready to ignite a revolution with Soft Disclosure. This isn't just a product drop. It's a full-on movement that's about to shake things up. This is personal care that doesn't mess around. No compromises, just pure, unapologetic quality. First up, the lotion, supercharged with aloe, goat milk, and our exclusive Badlands oil blend. This isn't just your average drugstore goop. It's a barrier-restoring powerhouse. Choose unscented when you want clean and simple, or vanilla citrus when you want to smell like you actually give a damn. Then the deodorant, natural, aluminum-free, and straight-up badass, built to last 2 months of daily use with scents like crisp mint or bold lemon grapefruit. No gimmicks, just protection that actually delivers. And finally, the tallow bar. And no, it's not deodorant. It's a vanilla coffee tallow stick, primal fuel for skin that's been through hell. Rub it where you need serious moisture, elbows, hands, knees, basically anywhere you're tired of feeling like sandpaper or just want baby soft skin. Every bottle, stick, and bar is handcrafted in Colorado by Badlanders who live and breathe truth. Partnering with Willow Wind Farms, Badlands Media, we're putting our money where our morals are with Soft Disclosure. Make truth your routine. Head to softdisclosure.com, use code Badlands for $5 off, and join the fight today. Really excited about this product, guys, mainly because it's awesome, but then also it's a great way to support Badlands Media and the creators we have here. Something we're always looking to do, and when opportunities arise for us to, like, you know, you get affiliate partners and stuff, and we push the product, that's great. We want to support America First businesses. Well, when we have an opportunity to create our own America First business and support ourselves in a larger way, better way, we're going to do that. And shout out to Cheryl and Willowin Farms for putting this stuff together. They did a great job, and I'm excited to see where we can go with this. So get your lotion, get your tallow bar, get your deodorant, because it's great. All right, let's go back to the stories here. We got this. Trump tells Maryland governor to clean up this crime disaster in Baltimore. Offers to send troops, kind of along the stories we've just been talking. President Trump responded on Sunday to Maryland Democratic Governor Wes Moore, who called on the president to come walk the streets with us. Trump said Moore should lower crime and clean up Baltimore first. Trump also suggested that he might rethink the decision to give money for the bridge that had collapsed in Baltimore after a cargo ship accident. So again, wielding the federal funds, the dollar, wielding the dollar to basically like hold it over a state's head, a governor's head. I think it's great. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland has asked in a rather nasty and provocative tone that I walk the streets of Maryland with him. Trump wrote on Truth Social. I assume he is talking about out of control, crime-ridden Baltimore. As president, I would much prefer that he clean up this crime disaster before I go there for a walk. Just an interesting exchange. But again, another example of him getting these governors to potentially do what he wants them to do. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, you know, just the immigrant father who the mainstream media has tried so hard to get us to sympathize with. He is facing deportation again, as he reports to ICE office. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Salvadoran national, faces deportation again as he reports to an ICE facility office in Baltimore on Monday. Abrego Garcia's scheduled check-in. Hopefully he doesn't walk there. Hopefully he gets a ride there because of the crime. See how I tied those two stories together? Abrego Garcia's scheduled check-in comes just days after the 30-year-old was released from a jail in Tennessee where he had been detained since June after being brought back to the U.S. following his mistaken, I don't like that they said this, deportation to El Salvador. Immigration officials said they plan to deport him to Uganda, which recently agreed to accept certain deportees after Abrego Garcia declined an offer to be removed to Costa Rica in exchange for pleading guilty to human smuggling charges. And this is what's weird, because we find out later the Costa Rican government said that he would be welcomed as a legal immigrant and wouldn't face detention, according to what is in the federal court filings. But he turned him down, kind of. According to Abrego Garcia's lawyers, the federal government has given him until Monday to accept the plea deal and deportation to Costa Rica, or that offer will be off the table forever. Attorneys declined to say if he's still considering the deal. Justice Department spokesperson Chad Gilmartin said in a statement that the criminal charges underscore how Abrego Garcia's presence presents a clear danger that he can either plead guilty or stand trial. Either way, we will hold Abrego Garcia unaccountable. Oh my gosh. Hold him accountable and protect the American people, Gilmartin said. I'm curious to see if he doesn't accept this plea deal where he could be free just in another country, not detained. All he has to do is plead guilty to human smuggling charges. Then he's going to Uganda. And maybe he will be detained there. Probably will. It's interesting. Interesting twist to the story. The story's been going on for 4 or 5 months. It's crazy. We got a couple Trump Truth Social posts, which I want to go through. Let's save that one for last. Let's do the fake news ones first. From Trump on Truth Social, this was yesterday last night. Why is it that ABC and NBC fake news, two of the absolute worst and most biased networks anywhere in the world, aren't paying millions of dollars a year in license fees? They should lose their licenses for their unfair coverage of Republicans and or conservatives, but at a minimum, they should pay up big for having the privilege of using the most valuable airwaves anywhere at any time. Crooked journalism should not be rewarded. It should be terminated. The reason I love this, and I'm going to even take a screenshot, because Chris and I on Saturday's Power Hour had a good discussion about the fake news, and I'd encourage you to go watch that episode. Maybe I'll clip it out and tie it to this post. Just got to remember to go share this with Chris. Yeah, I think that's great. Interesting. There's another one. This actually came before the one I just read. Despite a very high popularity, and according to many, among the greatest 8 months in presidential history, ABC and NBC fake news, two of the worst and most biased networks in history, give me 97% bad stories. If that is the case, they are simply an arm of the Democrat Party and should, according to many, have their licenses revoked by the FCC. I would be totally in favor of that because they are so biased and untruthful, an actual threat to our democracy. Very much in line with what I said Saturday. If Trump wanted to, he could end these fake news people, the people he calls the enemy of the people. But there's probably a reason he hasn't yet. But I think the timing of these posts are notable. And here's another one. Except what is written and broadcast in the fake news, I now have the highest poll numbers I've ever had, some in the 60s and 70s. Thank you. Make America great again. So interesting. And then he has two. Let me move that story a little bit. 2 posts. Okay, so do you guys remember every now and then Trump will post something about sports and get the sports people, whether it's the NFL owners or the MLB, whatever, they'll do basically what he asks. Okay. So anytime Trump gets involved with sports, it's interesting. You had the Shadur Sanders stuff during the draft. He's like, what are these NFL owners doing? He needs to be drafted right away, blah, 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 blah. It's just funny to me. Well, we have a couple of them here in a row now from him having to do with sports. And so I'm just keeping an eye on these. Keegan Bradley should definitely be on the American Ryder Cup team as captain. He's an amazing guy. It will be a great Ryder Cup. At the invite of the PGA Tour, I will be there on Tournament Friday. President Donald J. Trump. So he's like, hey, Keegan Bradley, get him on the Ryder Cup team. I'm curious to see if he ends up on the Ryder Cup team as a captain. We'll see what happens. We have another one here. This has to do with Roger Clemens. And so the first post came on Friday, I think. Is that Friday? The 23rd? That was Saturday. Keegan Bradley post came Saturday. This one came yesterday, Sunday. I played golf yesterday with the great Roger Clemens and his son, Casey. Roger Clemens was easily one of the few greatest pitchers of all time, winning 354 games, the Cy Young Award 7 times, a record by a lot, and played in 6 World Series, winning 2. He was second to Nolan Ryan in most strikeouts, and he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame now. People think he took drugs, but nothing was proven. He never tested positive, and Roger, from the very beginning, totally denies it. He was just as great before these erroneous charges were leveled at him. That rumor has gone on for years, and there has been no evidence whatsoever that he was a druggie. This is going to be like Pete Rose, where after over 4,000 hits, they wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame until I spoke to the commissioner, and he promised to do so. But it was essentially a promise not kept because he only opened it up when Pete died. And even then, he said that Pete Rose only got into the mix because of death. We are not going to let that happen in the case of Roger Clemens. 354 wins, put him in now. He and his great family should not be forced to endure this stupidity any longer. So I would expect Roger Clemens at some point to get into the Hall of Fame. All right. Okay, let's do this story here. This is an interesting one. We talked about this last week, and I'm going to just talk about it more because we got some updates on it. This is a post on True Social from Trump. This was this morning. I paid $0 for Intel. It is worth approximately $11 billion. All goes to the USA. Why are stupid, in quotes, people unhappy with that? I will make deals like that for our country all day long. I will also help those companies that make such lucrative deals with the United States. Well, he puts United States in there. I'll check for the decodes on that later. I love seeing their stock price go up, making the USA richer and richer, more jobs for America. Who would not want to make deals like that? It's a great question. Who would not want to make deals like that? But this gets even better. Trump says government will make deals like Intel stake all day long. He boasted about the government's new stake in Intel. It's 10%, which makes them the largest shareholder. But what's most interesting is this here. Early in the morning, White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett said the Intel move is part of a broader strategy to create a sovereign wealth fund that could include more companies. This is what he said. Well, I think this is a very, very special circumstance because of the massive amount of CHIPS Act spending that was coming in. Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council, said, but the president has made it clear all the way back to the campaign that he thinks in the end, it would be great if the U.S. could start to build up a sovereign wealth fund. So I'm sure that at some point here, there'll be more transactions, if not in this industry, than other industries. Trump signed an executive order in early February to start a sovereign wealth fund. Though the U.S. government taking large positions in corporations is unusual, it is not unheard of, he said, citing stakes in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac following the financial crisis. But what we have here is this company, Intel, was getting a ton of CHIPS Act dollars. And Trump's like, okay, well, we're not just going to give you these grants anymore. You're going to give us a stake in your company. And Hassett is saying that it's going to be used towards a sovereign wealth fund. Well, I was thinking like that template is especially notable when it has to do with the chip stuff and semiconductors and rare earth minerals, based on a lot of the stuff we've been talking about on Badlands for like literally 2.5 years. If you remember back to April, which one of these came first? Let's do the March one first. So back in March, Trump signed this executive order, immediate measures to increase American mineral production. And it talks about our national and economic security are now acutely threatened by our reliance upon hostile foreign powers' mineral production. It is imperative for our national security that the United States take immediate action to facilitate domestic mineral production to the maximum extent possible. So in this executive order, he said, we need more rare earth minerals. It is a national security and economic security issue. They're being threatened by this because we don't have enough. We need to increase production. It's for the sake of our national security. And what happened? The DOD makes a $400 million investment in MP Minerals, becomes the largest shareholder in that. And we basically federalized the mineral production in the United States of rare earth minerals. Notable. We've been talking about that. Then go on to April. You have this executive order, ensuring national security and economic resilience through Section 232 actions on processed critical minerals and derivative products. A strong national defense depends on a robust economy and price stability, a resilient manufacturing and defense industrial base, and secure domestic supply chains. Critical minerals, including rare earth elements in the form of processed minerals, are essential raw materials and critical production inputs required for economic and national security. Again, all this is in the context of national security, which is why it's so interesting. All these things and their derivative products critical mineral oxides, oxalate salts, and metals, processed critical minerals, as well as their derivative products, the manufactured goods incorporating them, things like Intel chips, which are the derivative products of the rare earth minerals, are similarly foundational to United States national security and defense. The dependence of the United States on imports and the vulnerability of our supply chains raises the potential for risks to national security, defense readiness, price stability, and economic prosperity and resilience. Processed critical minerals and the derivative products are essential for national security because they're foundational to military infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and advanced defense systems and technologies. You guys getting the theme I'm laying down here? They're key building blocks for our defense industrial base and integral to applications such as jet engines, missile guidance systems, advanced computing, radar systems, advanced optics, and secure communications equipments. For the United States to manufacture derivative products, it must have ready access to an affordable, resilient, and sustainable supply of processed critical minerals. Simultaneously, a resilient and sustainable manufacturing base for derivative products is vital to creating a stable demand base for processed critical minerals. Both must coexist to ensure economic stability and national security. He has made these rare earth minerals and the manufacturing of the derivative products of them a national security issue. That's what he did. This is March and April, 2 executive orders. And then you see them get a majority share in MP Minerals and then a majority share in Intel. And I was like, how many other companies have we given grants to just in this industry, the semiconductor and chips industry? Like just from the CHIPS Act, how many other companies have we given grants to or have grants lined up for? And will we see the same template play out with them as we got from Intel? And there's a lot. Intel was the biggest, that's 7.86 billion. I wouldn't be surprised if they just start going down this list and start getting a majority shareholder stake in every one of these companies, or a majority of them. TSMC, Micron Technology, and both of those are over 6 billion. Samsung, almost 5 billion. Global Foundries, 1.5 billion. Texas Instruments, we're going to make a whole bunch of calculators or whatever. Hemlock Semiconductor, 325 million. Polar Semiconductor, HP, like it goes on and on. These are just the grants that we gave them. I think this is interesting. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of the United States government, like using our tax dollars to just give money, grants to the private sector. I don't think we should be paying taxes at all, right? Like, so I'm obviously not going to be okay with us giving money to anybody. Foreign countries, private companies, whatever it is. I don't like it. But I understand the thought process that Trump is using here. And I do think it's kind of brilliant. Like, okay, well, we're going to give you this money, but we're not just giving it to you anymore. You're going to actually give us some skin in the game. And so that some of this investment actually has some sort of return on investment. And that's huge. Like if we have a 10% stake in Intel and they start manufacturing all these semiconductors and chips and everything that goes into the AI race, the space race, the nuclear race, all this stuff, nuclear energy race, the United States is going to start profiting from that. That's interesting. But then, and guys, this is just one industry. We've talked to last week when we had Representative Nate Schatzling from Texas on. We were talking about, you know, why should we be paying taxes? And he gave the best answer to that question I've asked so far, even though he didn't really answer the question. It was still the best answer I've gotten. He talked about like we need to get spending under control. And I agree with that. We shouldn't be spending any of the money that we are, a majority of it, if not all of it. But one thing that I can at least get on board with to the point of like not totally despising what's happening is if we're spending money, but it's more like an investment. Like, okay, we're giving you money now, whatever it is, you are going to give us a return on that investment. It changes the entire dynamic. This is just one industry. How many other industries are there that we have given billions and billions and billions of dollars to over the years? It's probably like all of them. Think of freaking COVID. How many companies got money? It's insane. Anyway. Yeah, tattoo teacher. We, the people, are giving them the investment. We should get the share profits. 100% agree. John, you could have stopped at, I'm not a fan of the U.S. government. That is for sure. I'm just, the thing is like, I come back to this a lot. We talked about this on Saturday too. You know, we we believe there's something bigger going on behind the scenes. And we're like, what is Trump waiting for? Like, I get it, the timing, but you can only use that excuse for so long until you come to the understanding that he's not going to do the thing that we want him to do, like rip off the Band-Aid and expose it all. He has been operating from day one within the normie battle space. He's going to continue to operate within that battle space. And so what will it look like moving forward within that battle space that people can get on board with in order for him to change the system and change the dynamics of all this stuff, the entire, not just here domestically, but globally. This is one of those things that's like, well, holy shit. This would be a huge move if it's just the beginning and they start getting shares in all these companies and all the proceeds from that come back into the sovereign wealth fund, which we can pay down the debt. You know, I'd love to see him just wipe it out somehow. I know a lot of people think he's going to, and the Fed and all those things, but there's a possibility that isn't going to happen, and he's going to continue to set things up to be done the most normal way possible because we all refuse to advance far enough where he can do things the way he needs to. It's kind of our fault. We talked about that Saturday. Go watch that episode. Chris had some brilliant points. But anyway, man, I only have like 9 minutes left and I have more stories. On the flip side of this, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick voids an illegal $7.4 billion payment to Biden ally-staffed nonprofit for semiconductor research. So while we're getting a stake in one of the companies that received a grant from under the Biden administration for the CHIPS Act stuff, a different one is basically revoking. What is this pop-up thing? Is revoking $7.4 billion. This is interesting. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick canceled a Biden administration agreement Monday to distribute billions of dollars of semiconductor research through a nonprofit set up and staffed by former political appointees, according to a letter obtained by the Post. The 2022 CHIPS and Science Act provided $11 billion in semiconductor research and development funding to be given out by the Commerce Department's National Semiconductor Technology Center. Rather than establishing these operations within the department, however, Biden administration officials spent significant time, effort, and resources creating an unaccountable outside entity, NatCast, to administer taxpayer funds, he wrote. So they're pulling that money. Amazing. Love it. F those people. We got this. Trump is meeting today, and I think that meeting is probably over by now. Maybe not. He's been, but at least before we went live, they were meeting already with the South Korean president. What is going on in South Korea seems like a purge or revolution. We can't have that and do business there. I'm seeing the new president today at the White House. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I don't know if there's been any good clips on this on social media. Let me see real quick. I'll do a quick peruse, see if anything sticks out. If not, I'm just gonna, yeah, nothing jumping out at me. Except this. So in conclusion, jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Isn't it interesting how many people won't like give Brad a shout out for Codex 9/11, won't give Badlands a shout out or anything, but all of a sudden everybody's talking about 9/11 again. Isn't that interesting? I think it's interesting. Whoopsie, we got this. Elon Musk has sued Apple and OpenAI, alleging anti-competitive scheme. Lawsuit filed by, this is something he threatened like a month ago, by the way. The lawsuit filed by Musk's AI startup XAI and his social media platform X alleges Apple and OpenAI have colluded to maintain monopolies in the smartphone and generative AI markets. By the way, the comment I just made about people not shouting up Brad or Badlands, but all of a sudden everybody's talking about like 9/11 stuff, just coincidentally. I don't know if that post I just shared specifically is one of those people. It was just something I thought of because I have seen it from other people. I don't know if Pepe Deluxe is one of the guys doing that. And he's typically a pretty solid dude. I haven't talked to him. I should give him a call. He's going to come to our Myrtle Beach card. I don't think he can make it. Should get him down to Florida. Anyway, sorry, that was totally off topic and random. Let me keep going here. It also accuses Apple of deprioritizing so-called super apps and generative AI chatbot competitors, such as XAI's Grok, in its App Store rankings, while favoring OpenAI by integrating its ChatGPT chatbot into Apple products. Unless the court enjoins Apple and OpenAI's unlawful conduct, defendants will continue to thwart competition, and their competitors, like plaintiffs, will continue to suffer the anti-competitive consequences, according to the complaint, which was filed in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas. So that's good. 60 Minutes. Yeah, 60 Minutes was doing a show on 9/11 like the past 2 weeks. Thought that was interesting. Mark Cornicky is he wants everyone to buy ammo. And yeah, I saw that, Bright Star. Thank you. Yeah, it is almost 9/11, but it's still like 2 weeks away. And I bet if you go back in time to last year, people weren't talking about 9/11 this much in advance of 9/11, like Badlands has been with this new documentary coming out. Real quick, Hegseth fires head of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. This guy, Lieutenant General Jeffrey Cruz, as the head of the DIA, has been removed. The agency's deputy director, Christine Bourdin, is expected to step in as acting DIA. The move follows the agency's controversial preliminary assessment of the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. The report, which later leaked to the media, concluded that Iran's nuclear program was delayed by only a few months, in direct contradiction of statements from President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that the strikes had completely and fully obliterated the program. President Trump formally rejected the assessment. Cruz's firing comes amid broader changes in the U.S. military and intelligence community. The Office of Director of National Intelligence, which coordinates 18 intelligence agencies, including the DIA, announced plans this week to reduce staff and cut its budget. We also have the FCC is continuing to expand their work to crack down on illegal robocalls. I'm going to love this because I get like 10 of those a day. But at least the phone now says like potential scam, probable scam or whatever. So I know not to answer them. Trump had some comments today that he's going to be suing to prevent Chuck Grassley from blocking Alina Habba's confirmation for U.S. attorney. It's weird that Chuck Grassley's the one blocking it. Grassley's working with Democrat senators from New Jersey in a gentleman's agreement giving them veto power over Habba's confirmation. It's called a blue slip, and it's not based on any law at all. The only person I can get approved are Democrats or maybe weak Republicans. We don't want that. This is based on an old custom, not based on law. I think it is unconstitutional. There's a 2-minute clip here. I'm not going to play though because I'm out of time. I do have a very quick clip from Minnesota AG Keith Ellison. I'll play this.
Dude, 44 times, and we'll sue him 44 more and 44 more after that. And we have sued them for gender affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community. And we have sued them to stand up for medical research, National Institute of Dude.
Yeah, screw that guy. All right. That's what I got for y'all. I'm gonna skip the boost for today. I don't know if I have any, but I'll check up on those tomorrow. I do have one Rumble rant from Harold Patriot. Love that username. Happy Monday, Badlands John. Doing a great show as always. Thank you. I'm going to raid you guys over to Y Chromes. So I'll send you there. Make sure you guys tune in tonight on Baseless Conspiracies, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And otherwise, I'll be back again tomorrow right at this time, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Badlands with the Daily Herald. You guys have a great rest of your day. Hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me?